Hey there, the next thing I'm after is the fuel sending unit, or at least to see why the gauge isn't responding in the cab. There's a unit here on this saddle tank, and there's one up here. I'm just going to go with this one first. I got the top tin off, the cowling, and the air pre-cleaner up here it wouldn't come off the stack here. And I thought it was somebody had tagged it here with a weld and you're supposed to lift this out and then do the clean and then set it back on. But I ground that and then I found out there's one at the back too, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I put a pipe wrench on there and some penetrating oil and just like gently up here, and I just gently moved it back and forth and got that to loosen up and come off. And there was a hornet's nest in there, so that's going to be cleaned out. So that exposes that exposes this tank and the sending units on the other side of the tank. But the first thing I've been doing is get rid of the dust. So I've been scraping away with this putty knife, and then I've been using a pad and just trying to take the rust off. And there was a 1/4 inch, maybe a 1/2 inch of grime up here. And I'm not going to make it perfect or anything, but I don't want, when I open up when I pull out the sending unit, I don't want grime and everything to fall down into the tank. So I want it pretty clean to start with anyway. It doesn't have to be perfect, but probably when I put it away too, I'll put some oil on that or something. I'm not really sure. So there's a ton of the grime off. It was all dark like that, but yeah, there was a 1/4 inch. That's really light compared to the way it was, but anyway, it was like that. And now I'm just gonna get a go at those screws right there. And what I've taken off already is this. I'll put it in the field of view. There it is. So that's the contact that was on there. I have the battery disconnected, just FYI. And my next move is take that out, and then I'm going to bench test it. What I'm hearing is the resistance range for this sending unit for this tractor series is 0 to 90 ohms. So I'm going to take those screws out, and then I'll put that on the bench and we'll have a look. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not going to bench test this guy. There's no point. It's completely pooched. It was that way in the tank, right? I can see the stamp. That's the way it was, I believe. And so it would have been from there to there. That makes more sense. But the fuel flows out of the bottom tank to the engine. So if I use the top gauge sensor as my gauge, and there's a selector switch in the cab, 1 or 2 tanks, then for now I'll know at least the top is full. I'd rather work off the top part of the tank anyway. The diesel in the top half costs the same as the diesel in the bottom half. Might as well work off the top half. Yeah, so that's going to be my next move then. I'm going to whip in the house and order that. All right, so I've decided I'm going to check the dash gauge for this fuel sensor. And I don't have the battery connected. And I just want to make sure that this is, the contacts are okay here. Now, I know the sending unit was pretty pooched. So I'd like to, if I could, just scrape this a bit. Just scrape it and spin it around and see if I can get some good metal going. I should replace this cap maybe. I don't know, unless I can make it better. I should be able to improve that a little bit. Actually, it feels like it's in pretty good shape. I don't think the contact would be that great. So I'm actually glad the sensor itself is buggered, because, you know, it could be, like right now anyway, could be that that's the only problem. That'd be awesome. Yeah, so this is the, let me get it. This is the wire from the fuel tank gauge in the tractor cab, and that gauge is seeing 12 volts from the power supply, right? So it's seeing 12 volts all the time, and then what the sensor in the tank is doing is changing the resistance. So think of it like a dimmer switch, you know, on a light. You know, that's really a variable resistor where you're giving it more or less current flowing through the circuit. So the sensor is doing the same thing as it floats up and it floats down. It's changing the resistance in the circuit, which puts hinders the current that's flowing, and so the gauge in the tractor is sensitive to the current that's flowing through it. Okay, so right now I've got you know, infinite resistance. I've got an open circuit here, and so this is normally attached to a post on the sending unit in the tank, right, on the tank, and this is just like I think I showed you. This is a ground that I just set up to the tractor. So that ground is eventually going to go to earth, right, which was really the negative terminal of the tractor battery. Okay, so infinite high resistance, and that is equivalent on the range of this sensor in the tank. It's a 0 to 90 ohms. So this is equivalent to how the sensor would respond with 90 ohms of resistance, right? But in this case, it's like not just 90 or 900 ohms. It's like an infinite resistance, you know. So yeah, so let's go up in the cab and see what the gauge looks like. So there's the fuel gauge. I'm in the cab, and hopefully you can see that okay. So I'm going to turn the key, and I'm not going to turn the engine over. Like, be careful about that, right? So I'm just going to go one click, right, and then the second click. There we go. And I'm not sure if you can see that needle. Yeah, you can see it responding, right? So with high resistance, which is an open circuit in this case, right? Infinite resistance, we've got a gauge that's showing totally full. And what that means is if the sensor is in the tank and it's floating high because the tank's full, it's going to make the resistance really great, and that would be 90 ohms for this unit, for this tractor. It's different for other Ford tractors. I forget, like something like 0 to 250 for many of them, but this particular series, the 7700, is 0 to 90 ohms. But for this test, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter at all, so it's just the way it is. Okay, so I'm going to shut this down, and what I'll do is we'll head back to the ground and make a connection on that. Just to be crystal clear for everybody, I'm going to take this ground away after I finish this test. I don't need it, right, on the main tank here. So I'm going to make my connection here, right? Oops. I'm going to try anyways. If I can make it stay. It looks like it's, maybe not. Are you going to stay? Okay. Hopefully that's made a connection. And in this case, we have the resistance would be close to 0, right? Just the internal resistance of the wires, that's it. But this, we'll go in the cab now and just see how that responds. So I've just completed the circuit from the gauge wire to the sending unit directly to earth, right, to ground. And what I'm going to do is, again, turn the key. Oops. That shadow out of there for you. Turn the key once, twice, and check how the needle responds. So that's the condition where the gauge here in the cab
senses an empty tank. Okay, right? So that's that. Now, I should also show you right here. Where is it? There it is. We have up selected on the selector switch for the top tank. The 2 is for the saddle tank, the auxiliary tank, and that tank's just not. That sending unit's just not working, right? So, and I don't think I'm going to get into it. I'm going to work, like I said, I'm going to work off the top of the tank anyway. So, I'll just keep because of the hours I'll put on this. I'll probably only put 100 hours a year, maybe 150. That's it. I don't know for sure, but so I won't be out, 12 hours at a time probably. And if I am, then that's okay. I'll likely be close enough to home to fill up. But we'll see. One day I'll do the auxiliary tank. Okay, so the end result here, right, when we look at this guy, is that the end result is that we know that the wiring from the from the tank sensor unit to the all the way up here to the dash is good, and that if I replace the in-tank sensor, the problem with this fuel gauge would be fixed right up without getting into the dash or anything like that. And nice thing about just a test like this is I didn't have to use a multimeter or anything like that. If you don't happen to have one or don't know how to use it, you can just do this test, no probs. Right? So I hope that helped you.
First thing I'll show you is where I'm going to put the leads. I've got the multimeter test set to test resistance. So I'm going to put the red connector right onto the post that goes to the gate, or comes from, I guess, actually the gauge in the tractor. So I'm going to put a squeeze on that, and then I'm going to put the other connector just on the body of the sending unit, because it is ground, so the whole thing carries to ground through the screws, I guess, to the tank, the frame of the tank. So it's reading 91.0 right now, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is just move this through its range of motion, right, with the leads connected, and I'll let you have a look at how the gauge responds to that. So I'll just move this over so you can see the gauge. So it's reading open line, and then I'll just test that it's working. Okay, so there's how it responds with 0.3 ohms of resistance, and there's infinite. Okay, so I'm going to put my connectors in place here. You won't be able to see these, but okay, I need a helper really to do this. But anyway, I'm reading 90.4, and then I'm going to move it slowly. There it is at 3 ohms. And now I'm going to move it slowly back to there. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. Now I'll give you the whole shot. Okay, so here we are, and you're going to have to take my word for it on the readings on the meter. I'm not sure if you can see that. It'd be nice if you could. Anyways, okay, so that's a full tank of fuel, right? And it's reading 91.5 ohms. Tank's dropping. We're at 67, 52, 50, down. We're at 24 ohms, and now we're an empty tank. An empty tank here is 2.9. We'll get my hands off there. 2.9 ohms. Okay, and then you fill it back up. Flow rises. We're back up to, well, here 91.5 ohms. Okay. So that's how it works.